The game takes inspiration from the medieval period, where the land guards keep rummaging through people's belongings with no good reason. Many times they do so violently to the point where many civilians carry scars of the guards' brutality. Sybil, the protagonist of the story, is no exception. She has had far too many encounters with the guards to forget their cruelty. As she leaves the bazaar to run some errands, she learns the guards have broken into the bazaar unannounced, this time being different than other times. She has unfortunately left her books, items, having the memory of her family, even some components of her altar, and worst of all, the devotion symbols to the Lady of the Clouds. It's unveiled Sybil has a different faith than the accepted faith within this kingdom, something that is persecuted. As the guards are rummaging through her stuff and confiscating them, Sybil looks from behind a wall and decides to run away to the Northern Kingdom in hope of survival, as paganism has the penalty of death. If Sybil would be found, she would suffer the same fate of her parents, being executed on a stake. Fighting for her life at this point, Sybil decides to disguise herself in order to bypass the guards at the border. For saving her own life, she understands that she needs to acquire another identity. She needs to sacrifice her true identity, let go of the life that she had built her entire life, the things that she knew and loved, the memories of her parents, all of the sentimental and valuable items, even her house, all for the sake of life. It is a sacrifice that she is willing to make in order to live. If she would choose to try her luck and go to the border walled gate without a disguise, the guards instantly recognize her body markings, something that has been traditionally given to her through her ancestors, with the guards in aggression shouting out witch, impaling her with their spears. This would be the first ending where Sybil dies. If she continues on to find the disguise, she notices that the guards are everywhere. She thinks quickly that maybe she can disguise herself as a merchant, especially as a merchant has come to the town today who happens to be in the tavern. She goes to the side of the river, which is well hidden, throwing all her adornments down the water. Each piece of her adornment carries significant and sentimental messages and worth, being part of her culture, which she cherished dearly. Nonetheless, in order to survive, Sybil is left with no other choice. Then it comes to the idol of the Lady of the Clouds. She finds it extremely difficult to get rid of the idol of her god, tears almost rolling down her cheeks, but she stays strong, throwing the idol down the river. With this action, the last letter of her name starts glitching and disappearing, symbolizing the gradual disappearance of her identity, losing her name and herself in the effort to survive. Sybil even bids herself farewell as she understands that she will be no more, who has to wipe her identity away in order to survive, creating another character in this cruel world. A world where everyone has to be the same, as a slight difference can make the people in the power persecute and hunt the others down. Now, Sybil is left with her ancestor markings, which are etched on her body as tattoos, or even deeper than tattoos. She knows what she needs to do, and it won't be easy. She looks around, and when the road is empty and there is no sign of the blacksmith, she breaks into his shop and uses a hot fire poker to burn her markings. She shakes in fear and questions herself, but she reassures herself that it is the only way that she can survive, and that she must be strong. This is the cost of life, pain and torment. Yet, with shaky hands, she burns the ancestral marks on her body, which defined her, which made her who she is. After the act, she wishes not to see what has come of her. She cannot bear to look at her own reflection from the shiny armors within the shop. She cannot accept herself as she is, as she feels shame, feeling as if she is a disappointment to her ancestors. But nonetheless, she continues on to live. Each life is precious, and we see in here exactly how precious. This is the length Sybil is willing to go in order to keep that precious life, even in despair and in pain. As Sybil goes to the tavern to talk to the merchant in order to somehow disguise herself and bypass the guards and go through the gate, the merchant is horrified by looking at Sybil with severe fresh burn marks. Sybil is unaware of how bad her burns are, but as she doesn't want to raise any suspicion, she leaves the merchant to figure out a way to cover her body. In the meantime, if Sybil tries to leave the kingdom in this condition as she is, the guards analyze her cautiously, not asking why she has burn marks, instead of asking if she feels alright and if there is anything wrong. With judgmental eyes, they tell her off that her hair is too long and there is a rule that women should not have long hair in the kingdom. Without hesitation, one of the guards takes out his sword and violently starts cutting her hair. The oppression and cruelty make Sybil feel like crying, but she holds herself back. As the guard is cutting her hair in a rough and ugly manner, he takes a closer look at Sybil and recognizes her to be Sybil, the woman from the bazaar. That's when he shoves her to the ground and pulls her by hair into the wall just for her to be executed. After all the pain and sacrifices Sybil made, she ends up dying in vain as the guard recognized her. On the other hand, if Sybil would try to go to the gate while still having her adornments, yet burning her markings, the guards find her idol of the Lady of the Clouds, which scares them all. It seems as if this idol is associated with witches, hence why the guards hunt down people of her descent. That's why her parents were killed and why they try to kill anyone like her. Unfortunately, Sybil cannot escape in here either, with the guard getting hold of her pendant and suffocating her. Alternatively, if Sybil decides to burn her markings, remove her adornments, and cut her hair short, she gets a different ending. In order to get scissors for her hair, she plans to break into her neighbor's house. Her neighbor has always been there for her, being kind. But now, she has to survive, hoping the neighbor would forgive her for doing what she must do now. As she sneaks into her house, she finds the razor, starting to cut her long and strong hair. As the hair keeps on falling, she sees the vision of her mother. She remembers the time when she was alive, embracing a younger version of Sybil, encouraging her to be strong as she grows older, just like her hair, and to never let anyone control her life. At this point, she cannot help herself from crying, feeling as if she is not strong enough and she is letting others dictate her life and control her. She knows that she is losing her identity, her dignity, and who she is. She thinks to herself while shaking in pain due to the burn marks and the loss of her valuable adornments, how much is enough just to survive? How much more does she need to lose? How much more of her identity does she need to let go of? These thoughts burrow deep in her mind, but either way, she pushes on forward to keep her life. As she goes to the gate once again, the guards stop her and analyze her, asking her to introduce herself. As she lies about her name, introducing herself as Ingrid, she notices that she has messed up after the expression of the guards change. People in the kingdom have a specific way of greeting, and she should have paid more attention as she saw it in the bazaar. That makes the guards suspicious who looks more cautiously at her, realizing that she is the woman from the bazaar, Sybil. Instinctually, Sybil runs towards the gate, but multiple arrows pierce her body, which make her drop to the ground due to severe blood loss. As her consciousness is fading away, taking her life with it, she whispers that she knows she is just another victim to the guards. But she says, as if pleading for her life, which is too late at this point to save, that her life is precious and it is the only one that she has. Just on that note, crying for how much she has lost, she closes her eyes, her story coming to a sad end. Next ending can be achieved if Sybil eavesdrops on some locals talking to each other. Listening carefully to how they talk and greet each other, she understands how she needs to talk to the guards. Greeting the guards correctly, they ask her why she needs to cross the gate when she explains that she's a merchant. However, as they ask more questions of her of what she sells or trades, she becomes speechless, causing the guards to get suspicious. As she is close enough to the open gate, she decides to take her chance and run, but unfortunately one of the many arrows shot at her direction makes connection. She runs deep in the forest, losing the guards, but due to the arrow piercing her belly, she succumbs to the blood loss, sitting next to a tree when she eventually loses her life due to severe blood loss. This time around, Sybil goes to the tavern and speaks to the merchant to learn about his business and what it is that he sells. In the meantime, we learn more about the background of Sybil and her people. In the past, there seems to have been some sort of conflict between this kingdom and the followers of the Lady of the Clouds. This conflict conflict, even though long in the past, has marked a bad memory in people's minds who see the people with markings as evil and enemies. The people talking in the tavern explain how they are remorseful for killing 2 people of this background, hoping God can forgive them for killing people who were just different to them. Later on, Sybil leaves the tavern and distracts the guards outside by instigating a fight inside between people, which then she takes the chance to steal the merchant's wagon. As she goes to the gate, all seem to be convincing, with the guards getting convinced. But only one last thing exposes Sybil. At this point, having lost all of her adornments, her markings, and introducing herself as Ingrid, her name has completely disappeared, symbolizing how her identity has been wiped. As she is fully convincing, the guards ask her to do the honorific for the king god. She has no idea what the honorific vows are, which leads to the guards becoming extremely aggressive, taking her to the inside of the wall where they call a priest to purify her and teach her the vows. Just then, on closer inspection, the priest notices the scars and engraved markings on Sybil's body, as the markings are something that she inherited as a child, deeply engraved in her skin. They are not simple tattoos, but deep marks. Just looking at them, the priest backs away in fear and disgust and orders the guards to burn her at the stake, as he explains that she can only be purified by fire. It seems as if the race of Sybil is somehow connected to witches or a tribe who had supernatural powers, or at least that's what the people believed. In a war or whatever conflict happened between these 2 groups of people, people formed a negative view of the race of Sybil, hunting every single one of them down. Her faith and God became outlawed, and anyone seen praying for the Lady of the Clouds was persecuted and most likely executed. Despite how the beliefs of Sybil might seem, we see the people of the kingdom are not any better. They have specific honorific vows for their ruler, whom they refer to as King God, a clear dictator forcing people to say specific vows, as otherwise they are unholy and would need purification. This time around, Sybil watches a family doing their nightly ritual, which includes the vows for the king god. They chant, "Protect us in winter and receive us through hunger, God King," which only happens to be some short parts of the vows. Sybil thinks to herself how these people can think of the emperor as a god, as he is simply a human. Well, it might seem ridiculous in hindsight, but many civilizations deified their rulers and kings. At the least, many times rulers or religious leaders became legends or people of significance in religion, which people even prayed to. It happened in ancient Egyptian mythology with pharaohs becoming saints or deities. It happens even now in different religions. Back at the gate again, with the guards asking Sybil about their ruler and the vows. She vows that she only honors their god king and renounces any other god who are the lords of the damned. Saying these words makes Sybil hate herself, feeling bitter in the mouth, feeling as if she is losing her identity and herself, feeling like a traitor. The guards become convinced and let Sybil go with the wagon that she just stole. As she proceeds and leaves behind the kingdom that hunted her, she feels weak and defeated, feeling as if she doesn't deserve her life, like an imposter in her own flesh. After all these sacrifices, after selling her soul and faith, she feels extremely alone. She doesn't know if she will see tomorrow, as she just escaped the kingdom. All this for what? Just to be always in fear of death and persecution? At least she had her adornments, her traditional garments, and the idol of her god. She denounced her god, looking at the sky and seeing the clouds when she feels an immense guilt. Now she has no home, no family, and no god. And with that, no identity. She has lost too much to even comprehend it. She is completely overwhelmed. In that moment, she stops momentarily to drink from the river. As she closes her eyes to take some sips, she opens her eyes for a quick moment, being stopped by what she sees as a reflection. Seeing the reflection, she cannot recognize herself any longer. The long, strong black hair that her mother cherished and brushed every day is now gone. She sees her body barren of the adornments that decorated her with her culture, and worst of all, the absence of paintings and markings on her body that symbolized her fidelity to her own traditions. Despite the pain in her face and mind, despite the loss of her identity and self-worth, she thinks that all this pain might be worth it, as life is precious and it is the only one that she has. But despite all that, how long will she live? As after all, she might have just delayed the inevitable by a short time. And on that note, the story comes to an end. This was truly a sad story of a fictional character, but a character that has lived in many real people in history, in the antiquity, the far past, near past, and even current times, and probably the future to come. I hope you enjoyed this video, folks. As always, it's been your host Star. I will see you on the next one. Take care.